Honorable representatives of the people of Britain and dear friends of the Iranian people's resistance, Mr. Jones and Mr. Blackman. There are two opposing sides when it comes to the fate of Iran. On one side is the resistance and the struggle for freedom and establishing a democratic republic based on the separation of religion and the state. On the other side, there are the enemies of freedom who wish to maintain the religious tyranny in power or a return to the dictatorship of the Shah. In the front of tyranny, remnants of the Shah's secret police, Savak, are practically collaborating with the IRGC. In the front of freedom and democracy, freedom-loving youth, women, and those who have struggled against both dictatorships as well as oppressed ethnic groups are natural allies in the fight against dictatorship. The recent uprising in Iran was a significant turning point in Iranian developments. It forced the regime into a new era where the only way out is true overthrow. The main slogan of the uprising is "Death to Khamenei," demanding an end to the regime and for freedom for the Iranian people. Women played a vital role in leading the uprising, which showed that the Iranian people are committed to continuing their struggle. The protesters have made significant sacrifices. To counter the regime's repression, people resorted to self-defense. In this uprising, Iranian society strongly rejects any return to the former dictatorship. The frequent slogan of "Death to the oppressor," be it the Shah or Khamenei, shows this desire. The regime resorted to maximum pressure, but despite its brutal attempt, it failed to prevent the protest movements. It has no solution to deal with its economic crisis. Since last year, Iran's currency has lost 100% of its value. Moreover, the regime is unable to normalize its relations with countries in the region and the world because warmongering and terrorism are vital for its survival and it cannot abandon them. The regime also cannot make a new agreement regarding the nuclear deal because it considers obtaining the nuclear bomb as a guarantee for its survival. The Mullah's regime cannot reform its policies and can only maintain its rule through suppression. In such a political impasse, the regime has intensified its demonizing campaign against the PMI. The Mullah's regime needs to play the card of monarchy to impose a negative impact on the uprising. Your efforts to encourage the UK designate the IRGC as a banned terrorist entity are truly valuable. Thank you. Unfortunately, the West's long history of appeasing the Iranian regime has allowed the regime to use Western markets, companies, industries, the press, think tanks, and even universities to pursue its terrorist warmongering and unpopular goals. On the 11th of February, the German press quoted their government that from beginning of the uprising, the activities of the regime's agents against Iranian dissidents have increased, and 160 agents with ties to the IRGC were identified in Germany. For a long time, the Iranian resistance has been warning that the regime's embassies in Western countries serve as logistical support centers for IRGC and MIS activities in Europe. It is time to shut down these embassies and expel their agents. The Iranian people and their resistance hope that the British Parliament would lead the way in this regard, including designating the IRGC as a terrorist group, closing down the regime's embassies, expelling the regime's agents, and revoking their residential documents in the West. At the same time, the world should recognize the legitimacy and importance of the Iranian people's struggle to overthrow the regime and support the courageous youth in Iran who are fighting against the terrorist IRGC. I'm grateful to you and your colleagues for standing by the Iranian people and resistance for the past 4 decades. Thank you. Thank you very much.